Our third source of confirmation bias that we're going to look at is biased interpretation of information. Even if two individuals have access to the same information, the way they interpret that information can be biased. Now, I'm going to give a somewhat unconventional example of this, but it's a fun example. I'm going to play you a short video clip which circulated around the internet a while ago. We're told that it was shot from a cell phone from a person located somewhere in Russia. There's no sound in this clip. I just want you to watch it and ask yourself what it is you think you're seeing. Okay, that's super creepy, right? It looks like some kind of giant spider creature climbing up an apartment building. But it's too big to be a normal spider, and it seems like it only has 4 legs, and spiders have more than 4 legs. So what is it? What is it you think you're seeing in this video? When I show audiences this clip, I get 2 kinds of responses. There's the open-minded person who is totally creeped out and admits that they might be seeing something real. If they were told it was an alien spider creature that had escaped a government facility, they might at least consider that story. The other type of response is more skeptical. They assume it's a hoax of some kind, maybe done with special effects. So we have 2 different interpretations of the same information. Now, these interpretations reflect different background beliefs on the part of the interpreters. Mulder, on the left, might already be predisposed to believe in government conspiracies, and this video fits easily within that network of beliefs. On first exposure, he takes it very seriously. He interprets it as potential evidence that would confirm his prior belief that the government is hiding the existence of aliens. Scully, on the other hand, is much more wary of videos like this. Her background as a scientist and a skeptic disposes her to be cautious of this video. Her first reaction is to assume it's probably a hoax of some kind and hold out for evidence that would prove otherwise. To quote Carl Sagan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and from her perspective, to take this as an authentic video of a real creature climbing that building, that's an extraordinary claim. What we're talking about here is an instance of a more general phenomenon involving how different people interpret evidence and assess the strength of arguments. Those who hold strong beliefs about an issue will tend to accept confirming evidence at face value, but be highly critical of disconfirming evidence. This is a bias, an asymmetry in the standard being employed for what is to count as good reasons to believe something. For confirming evidence, we set the standard lower. For disconfirming evidence that conflicts with our expectations, we set the standard higher. This is one reason why reasonable and well-informed people can have very different reactions to the same argument. One person finds the argument persuasive and well-defended, the other person finds it full of unjustified assumptions and weak inferences. This phenomenon of biased argumentative standards pervades all forms of intellectual and academic work. In some ways, I think of it as the academic's bias because we're so vulnerable to it. Academics are focused on showing, through evidence and argumentation, that their arguments are good and their critics' arguments are bad. But academics spend very little time thinking about how to justify the argumentative standards they're employing when making their case, or how those standards might shift when they're on the defensive versus when they're on the offensive, or when they're evaluating an argument that they happen to agree with versus evaluating an argument that they happen to disagree with. The issue just doesn't come up. And the fact that it doesn't come up, that we're ignorant of the effects of this bias, makes us even more vulnerable to it without even realizing it. Okay, this wraps up our introduction to confirmation bias. We looked at how confirmation bias can manifest itself in different ways, through biased memory, biased search for information, and biased interpretation of information. By now, you should have a better feel of how this bias operates, and the sort of effects it can have on how we interpret evidence and evaluate arguments. Next up on our guided tour is a bias that I call pattern seeking. The next few videos are devoted to our tendency to see patterns even when there are none, and to look for causal explanations for patterns even where no causes are operating. The video you just watched is part of a larger course on cognitive biases and critical thinking. You can find it on Udemy. Just click the link on the screen or in the video description to get a 50% discount on the sign up. Or you can find it and many other video courses over at the Critical Thinker Academy, where you can sign up for as low as $3 a month and get access to almost 20 hours of video training on a variety of topics related to logic, argumentation, and critical thinking.